because you and I have been talking about this, I feel like, for 8 months, and saying that Bernie has got to make her take a pledge about a couple of things. And this was one of them, and it was Social Security. And he stayed on this. And I mentioned earlier at the top of this, I came in this morning, and the guy who works downstairs in the building, he's like, I saw that debate. What was up with Hillary? And he is a Hillary-leaning voter. Like I say, I think, late 50s, African-American.
Sure.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said she kept getting asked that question, and he stayed on it about Social Security, and she wouldn't say she would tax the rich. Now, she sort of did. She said she pivoted to passive income, basically suggesting that maybe capital gains would be taxed. But it is fascinating to me as to why she won't agree on lifting the cap. This is a position that Barack Obama had 8 years ago. And it is, and Bernie, to his credit, kept hammering her. And it's the last exchange where she said, yes, but that is amazing. This is a 2-minute long clip, but here it is.
We're having a discussion about the best way to raise money from wealthy people to extend the Social Security Trust Fund. Think about what the other side wants to do. They're calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme. They still want to privatize it. In fact, their whole idea is to turn over the Social Security Trust Fund to Wall Street, something you and I would never let happen.
Pause it. Now, that's true. That's all true. Cutting it and whatnot. But it is
it's a crafty sleight of hand by Hillary, who immediately takes it to how terrible the Republicans are, so that she doesn't have to discuss her position versus Bernie.
So yes, we both want to make sure Social Security is vibrant and well-funded and helps the people at the bottom.
Senator, go ahead. Campaign of challenging, if I hear you correctly, Madam Secretary, you are now coming out finally in favor of lifting the cap on taxable income and extending and expanding Social Security. If that is the case, welcome on board. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Errol Lewis, go ahead.
We are going.
Secretary.
As he said, I've said the same thing for years. I didn't say anything different tonight. We are going to extend the Social Security Trust Fund. There is still something called Congress. Now, I happen to support Democrats, and I want to get Democrats to take back the majority in the United States Senate. So a lot of what we're talking about can actually be implemented when I am president.
Hold on, Errol, hold on. I got to admit,
go ahead, Senator.
Maybe I'm a little bit confused. Are you or are you not supporting legislation to lift the cap on taxable income and extend Social Security for 58 years and increase benefits? Yes or no?
I have said yes. We are going to pick the best way or combination. Or a combination of ways. It's always a little bit challenging because, if Senator Sanders doesn't agree with how you are approaching something, then you are a member of the establishment. Well, let me say this. We are going to extend the Social Security Trust Fund. We've got some good ideas to do it. Let's get a Congress elected that will actually agree with us in doing it.
Now, Cliff, all right, this is really, really important. Because there's one way you can extend the Social Security Trust Fund. Because he says, are you going to raise the cap on taxes? Because we all know, you and I both know this, we're getting 9% less of, capturing 9% less of Americans' income in the Social Security payroll tax because of income disparity. And that's why we need to, he was talking about a donut hole, whatever. The idea is you raise the cap.
If you're losing the middle, then you're losing money because there's more money distributed at the bottom and the top, and you're only taking up to right.
That's right. And so, even the donut hole probably wouldn't even capture that much more money. The question is above the donut hole. When you start getting up until the people who are making $1 million a year, whatever it is,
And the fact of the matter is, it's always been regressive, which I guess maybe that's the way, and originally, if it was FDR, and, I don't know the whole history exactly of when the different aspects of the program were set up in terms of funding. I know, obviously, originally it didn't fund certain people, primarily occupations that African Americans were in.
That's right,
and
yes.
Survivors' benefits, but it has been regressive, and so you'd say to yourself, if you're logically, how do you fund a system? Would be to get rid of the damn thing altogether. Anyhow,
right,
is the most logical thing to do.
Get rid of the cap. Get rid of it,
yeah,
and that's what he's calling for. An expanded Social Security
level. Be taxed all money.
And her response is yes. I agree, but that we can look at a combination of factors to extend the trust fund. Now, here's one way you can extend the trust fund, since this is on the table in her mind. You cut benefits. If you cut benefits, the trust fund gets extended because you're not paying out as much.
When you say there's a combination of things, look, you're either going to get rid of the cap, you're going to bring in the tax money from other systems, which is then you start, the trust fund and all the stuff that's getting messed up. But you can do that, but that's going to take a lot of work. If you're going to say, well, we're going to have a tax on finance or whatever it's going to be, right? That we're going to use for this. Or, as you said, you've got to cut benefits. There's only so many ways.
Well,
I guess you could find all sorts of ways to be like, we're going to cut the Defense Department by this, and it's going to go into Social Security. Of course, as we all know, the chances of that happening are
it's also
picked as vice president.
It's also not legal. I mean, the point is statutorily, the Social Security system runs distinct from the general budget.
Well, that's what I meant by you do it going past that and leaving the Social Security system to get that money would take a lot of legislation because you have to change all sorts of things, right?
Yeah, and it would be weird.
It becomes much more complicated if you're not getting the money from Social Security.
But it would also subject Social Security to cuts and to the deficit and debt argument. The bottom line is there's only one way to maintain the integrity of Social Security as a separate standing, self-sufficient social insurance program, and that is to get the money from the payroll tax. And so, and it's great. You want to include income. You want that to include certain types of capital gains. Fine, as long as it's not you're drawing money from the general budget.
Well, and that's what you have to do is say that you pledge to not cut and pledge, frankly, to expand. And then guess what? If you can't expand through your various other taxes, through your large legislative changes that you want to do, it has to come by just getting rid of the cap. If you can be that clear and that straightforward. The problem is that on that and the minimum wage, as I think Bernie even said at one point about the confusion of her message on the minimum wage, when you're sort of doing these ifs and ands and buts, it just makes everything you're saying look less believable.
Well, yeah, when you answer the question, the yes or no question, essentially, and it could be yes and, she say, not only am I going to raise the cap, I'm going to also get capital gains in here. But when you answer by saying, look, the Republicans want to do something much worse, or look, here's Bernie trying to make it seem like I'm part of the establishment. Now, I mean, let's be honest. She's part of the establishment, but that's not what he was saying. The words establishment.
Kind of funny. I've heard her say that. I thought when she started saying that sentence, to say you have to be bad if Bernie disagrees with you, which would have been a better remark, frankly, than you have to be the establishment. When I don't think for 20-something years now anybody has ever dared to think that you're not part of the establishment.
Hi, I'm Sam Seder, and this is an Ann Coulter doll.
You should not be immigrating here. Yeah. Stay in your country and hate us.
For smart progressive talk and a little bit of this and even a little bit of that.
Mission accomplished.
Subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like us on Facebook to get some of our best video clips.